For hundreds of years, the U.S. has used an unconventional method for picking its president and vice president. That system is called the Electoral College. In Canada and many other major democracies, there isn't anything quite like it.
It's archaic and strange. It made perhaps some sense at the time. It was meant to sort of put a body of elites in between the votes of the people and the ultimate selection of the president.
It's not very democratic in some respects. This institution was designed in the late 18th century by talented people who did not imagine the existence of political parties.
When they originally had the Electoral College, people would vote for president and vice president on the same ballot, and the second guy would get, the vice presidency. Well, that didn't work so well in a couple of elections, and so they had to change it.
Now, Americans vote for presidential and vice presidential candidates from the same party. There are 538 Electoral College votes up for grabs in the election. To win, you need 270.
Each state is granted a number of electoral votes equivalent to its representatives in the House of Representatives plus its 2 senators, which means that it's roughly proportional to population, and the small states are given a slight or not so slight numerical advantage per capita.
That breaks down to 435 House members and 100 senators, plus 3 for Washington, D.C.
Big prizes in the Electoral College are California, Texas, and Florida. But then there's a lot of second-tier states which are quite important as well, places like Michigan, Wisconsin, Pennsylvania, Ohio. And so those we're seeing right now are battleground states.
In 48 of the 50 states,
whoever wins the plurality of the popular vote in the state gets all of the electoral votes.
Kamala Harris will win California by probably 10 million votes, but she only needs to win by 1 vote in order to win all the Electoral College votes. Joe Biden won by 7 million votes in 2020, but if you moved about 40,000 votes within 6 states, he would have lost.
It's unlikely to happen, but what if there's a tie? That triggers a contingent election. It's only happened 2 times in the mid-1800s.
And it goes to the newly elected members of the House. They don't vote where one member of the House gets 1 vote. It's each state delegation gets 1 vote. So there are 50 votes in the House. And so whichever party holds a majority of state delegations would have the advantage to vote for their favorite candidate for president. In the Senate, they do something similar where every senator gets a vote and they choose the vice president. And the Senate doesn't have to choose the vice president from the same party as the House chooses for the president. It just points to how arcane this system is and that it can't deal with the kind of partisan deadlock that the country is at right now.
After the election is over, each state must confirm the winners in mid-December. That's when the voters of the Electoral College cast their ballots.
There are 538 people in the Electoral College. We don't yet know who they are. Each state has a number of electors. The Republican Party and the Democratic Party each have a list of electors right now. These are, diehard people for the parties.
The electoral votes are sent to the Capitol and are counted by Congress in early January. The winners get sworn in on January 20th. So why is this system around to this day still?
In 1969, the House of Representatives approved a constitutional amendment by an 80% vote. Amendments have to get a 2/3 vote to pass. And they approved a constitutional amendment that would have abolished the Electoral College and had a national popular vote. It then went to the Senate, where it also had majority support, but where the effort was killed by a filibuster led by Southern senators.
As long as it's to one party's advantage, the system's not going to be reformed. No electoral system is perfect. In Canada right now, Justin Trudeau is prime minister. He got 33% of the vote and the Conservatives got 34% of the vote. And so lots of democracies have difficulty translating votes into seats and translating the will of the people into who governs them. But there is no other office that I know of where you're choosing just one person to hold one office and the person who gets the most votes doesn't necessarily win. And that's incredibly unusual.
Go to citynews.ca to learn more about the Electoral College and the U.S. election. In Toronto, Nick Westoll, City News.